out of ideas, so JT said to steal some of them first, so I am.
Speaking as a guy who's really got it going on, it's only natural, it's only me.
Okay, today I'm going to talk about my top 5 favorite books, which it was a very hard choice for me because I've read so many books, and everybody in my family reads books, and we just have tons and tons and tons of them. But anyway, let's get on to the ones that I picked. First is the vampire book to trump all vampire books, Carpe Jugulum by Terry Pratchett. Now, Terry Pratchett is probably my favorite author of all time. Carpe Jugulum is a vampire story, but the vampires aren't bloodthirsty killers. They aren't out to eat every single person or take over the world. At least that's what they want you to think. The vampires are really unique and different in this story, and the whole story is absolutely hilarious. It's the vampires and all of the trouble they cause when they move into town. The next book in my top 5 is Aragon by Christopher Paolini, and I'm sure most of you have read it. It's about a boy who finds a dragon's egg and he becomes like the last dragon rider in the world. This is probably my favorite book in the Inheritance cycle, because it was the trilogy and now it's the cycle. It's probably my favorite book in the series. I've actually read this book so many times that the cover fell off. I had to tape it back on like both sides. I love this book series. I love the other books in the series. I hated the movie adaptation with a passion, and probably like every other fan. This is probably my favorite out of all of the dragon books that I own. The next book on my list is Coraline by Neil Gaimen. I got this book from a book fair when I was 11. About a girl who goes into another world, and there's the other mother, and the other mother tries to pamper her and make her want to stay, but Coraline realizes something's up, and the other mother turns out to be quite evil and tries to, kill her and things. A lot of you might know the story to it because it was recently adapted into a movie, and I liked the movie, and the movie stayed fairly true to the book, but because it was claymation, it was just too cute. The story is actually very, very creepy, and the movie just didn't get that across quite as well as I would have liked. The fourth book in my top 5 favorite is The Wish List by Eion Colfer. Eion Colfer is another one of my favorite authors. The story of The Wish List is about a girl, and she dies in an explosion. And when you die, you either go to heaven or hell, but she is dead even on good and evil, so she can't go to either place. And so she gets sent back to Earth as a ghost to help an old man fulfill his wish list. Of course, hell wants her, and so they're sending demons and minions to screw with her and make her make bad choices. It's a very touching story. It's funny, it's sad, and very well written, and I love it. Any story that has the devil playing a Game Boy is very high up on the good book list. And finally, my all-time favorite book ever. If you're reading this, it must be 1,000 years from now, because nobody around here reads anymore. Why bother? The Last Book in the Universe by Robin Philbrick. Now, this book I actually accidentally stole. I was part of an after-school program in middle school, and they had a shelf of books, and I started reading this when I was like, hey, can I bring this home to borrow it? And they're like, sure, as long as you bring it back. And so I brought it home and I read it, and I just kept forgetting to bring it back. And before I knew it was summertime. I was like, oh, I'll just bring it back next school year. But then over the summer, the program that was running the club was disbanded and dissolved, and so the club didn't exist anymore. So I didn't have anywhere to return the book to. The story of The Last Book in the Universe takes place in a post-apocalyptic world, and books don't exist anymore. Why bother reading when you can just stick a needle into your brain and live the story? And the main character of the story is named Spaz, but he teams up with this old man named Ryder, and Ryder is actually writing a story, and he wants one last adventure for his story. And anyway, they go on this fantastic journey, and I'm not going to give away the ending of the story, but this book is absolutely the best, and it's just my favorite book of all time. Like, seriously, I've read this book so many times, pages are coming out. One of the reasons I think it's my favorite book is because I can see our society heading in that direction, and I can see society getting to the point where books are outdated, and I would hate to see or live in that world, but I can see society going that direction. And so those are my top 5 favorite books of all time. And I'm going to post some of the runners-up in the Thingity. But yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye!
End transmission.